The meeting of the Rutland Town Select Board. This is our regularly scheduled meeting. It is October 10th, 2023. We have present with us a full select board tonight, which is very nice to see. Welcome back, Sharon Russell. Appreciate it. I know you've zoomed in, but it's nice to have you in person.
Thank you.
Matt Getty, I'm Mary Ashcroft, Joe DiNardo, our clerk, and Kurt Hathaway. So if you will all rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We have three sets of minutes. We'll start with the approval of the minutes for the select board meeting of September 12th. I was here, Joe was here, Sharon was here, and Matt was here.
Move to approve.
Motion's been made to approve.
Second.
Motion seconded. Any additions, deletions, corrections? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? And Kurt is
Yeah, I'm on abstention
abstaining
on that
because you weren't
Yep.
here.
one.
Next are the minutes of the September 12th meeting. Is that the special meeting? That's the
That's the special
September
meeting.
12th special meeting. Now we're on the September 12th regular meeting. And present were the same for, you were at a fire, as I recall.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was.
Okay.
That was Wednesday night, you were
Yeah.
preoccupied.
So is there a motion for the September 12th meeting, the regular select board meeting?
Move to approve.
Did I hear
You did.
motion made? Second.
Second.
Seconded. Discussion, additions, deletions. If not, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Abstain.
Abstain.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. I'll vote aye. I'll vote aye on the other one too. Okay, we have the minutes for the select board meeting for September 26th. And present were Mary, Kurt, and Matt. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Additions, deletions, corrections? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Right.
Aye.
Abstain.
And Joe and Sharon are abstaining. We did read the minutes. We got sent them ahead of time, just so you were wondering. Yeah. Okay,
That's it, Mary. I think the one's, yep. I think it's the second one, so we gotta sign.
yes, you do need to.
It's a regular.
Okay. Thank you. All right, any announcements from board members?
Just
Sure.
have to say something. Those people that sent me cards and food and everything else while I was sick, I truly appreciate it. It's been a long road, but it seems good to be back here. So again, thank you.
Don't speak too soon about that.
Thank you, Sharon. Any other announcements from board members?
One quick item.
Yep.
I would just express my gratitude that Sharon has reclaimed the stick of destiny over here. So I'm no longer responsible for how hot or cold anyone feels. Look at her. Wave at her if you're hot or cold.
Okay, Kurt, anything? Joe, anything?
Also, thanks.
Okay, so update from the select board chair. I think I've announced pretty much the order of things today. I do want to recognize that Larry Delveneri's birthday was October 5th. So happy birthday, Larry Delveneri. Make sure you mention, he's not on, unfortunately. We do have someone on that I want to recognize. Everybody's looking at the screen, the Zoom screen, and wondering who Alec Belinsky is, right? Alex is a young attorney. He's with the Incubator Project, or he's zooming in on the Incubator Project for the Vermont Bar Association. And first year attorneys, right after they license, they have to do a certain number of credits, observations, courtroom observations, and public meeting observations. So Alec is zooming in so he can watch us tonight. And I'm sure I'm going to get an email after this is over about all of the stuff that we could have done better.
So this is going to qualify for credit.
This will qualify for first year credit. Not for you, because we're beyond that, but okay. So
The rest of us are flunkies.
Yeah.
the rest of you don't have to go through the ordeal. Okay, so what we're going to do, we have a number of folks here on the E911 issue. And what I'd like to do, because we haven't heard from Gleason Avenue folks, so remembering that we're allocating a total of 20 minutes to this. So Gleason Road folks who wish to be heard, come on up and have a seat. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
I thought I was gonna have some reinforcements there.
See what you say?
Good evening. Identify yourself, please.
My name is Tanner Heath. I'm a resident of Rutland Town. I live at 552 Gleason Road.
Did I used to teach you Four Winds?
Probably.
I think I
I've,
did.
I've done a lot of things in the community, especially when I was a lot younger. So I grew up in Rutland, born and raised in Rutland Town, went to Rutland Town School. And I'm speaking on the E911 issue tonight. I think I have kind of an interesting perspective because I actually work on the ambulance. So I've worked in the area for almost 6 years now, both at Regional Ambulance and Fairhaven Rescue. Couldn't speak 2 weeks ago because I was actually working and I was able to get off early. And I know that safety was a big concern with this change. It was really kind of hammered down safety, safety, safety. And I think that the change actually does create a few safety issues that would make me opposed to the change of numbers. So E911 is kind of a statewide dispatching system. It's adopted almost nationally. And what happens is when someone calls 911, the dispatch operator is able to isolate them based on the towers, and it uses your address as well. However, that only goes to the dispatch agencies. So we are kind of in a shuffle right now. Westminster Dispatch is kind of up in arms, especially with the fire departments and the EMS agencies. But we don't get the information from the E911. So when the 911 call comes in, it goes to a dispatcher. The dispatcher then calls us and tells us where we're going. So we don't have a tablet that this data is implemented to. It simply is told to us over phone or over radio and we go. So this address change could be detrimental because when I go to a call, I put my address in on my phone. So I use Apple Maps or I use Google Maps, depending on my service and my coverage area. It's not sent to me. I have to search it. And so with this change that's being proposed, it's going to create this dangerous lapse of 2 months of some people changing. We have till January 1st to change it. Some people may have already changed it. And then at the end of the day, it's going to take lag time for those big companies to catch up. I know that I go to several places that their numbers are still not changed from years ago. It's particularly a problem in the city right now with that. The other way that I find addresses is in my head because I go to these places. So people have been to 552 Gleason Road before. A couple years ago, my mom actually cut some of her fingers off. It was really nasty. And it was nice because everyone knew where I lived. So my partner was like, yeah, I just drive you to your house. That's fine. And when 552 becomes 560, it's going to create this weird kind of dichotomy of, do I need to drive past the house? Is it going to be before the house? And then this also would affect, I think, our vulnerable populations a lot. So it's not easy to remember an address. And we have a lot of little kids on Gleason Road right now, a lot of up and coming younger families. So where they are going to know, oh, my address is 552. Now try to tell a 7-year-old that their address is 560 when something bad happens to their mom, their dad, their sister, their brother. And then, of course, changing an address is a hassle altogether. And we have older populations too, the elderly population. A lot of people have lifelines or medical alarms, and those companies are not easy to work with. Again, I've had several problems going to addresses that have been changed, but they weren't actually changed in the lifeline system. The older population maybe has a little bit of memory issues. There's dementia people on my street that I know personally who don't even know their address. So when they're just relying on a button, if that button doesn't get the people to the right spot, then I think that would cause even more issues. So while E911 is great for bigger areas, we are not implementing it at the ambulance level. And so I propose we leave numbers just the same, just the way they are because it's working really well for us, and I would hate for something bad to happen. Really, the problem would be number labeling. I know one of every 6 calls I go to, I can't see a house, an apartment, or a mailbox number. So that's a big problem. I think that should be a focus here with the committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, I was thinking of the number labeling.
Yeah.
We had one of our former fire chiefs would bring it up every once in a while and prodded me to put the number on my barn. So I'm good.
And that's the thing is like
Yeah.
a mailbox is great, a house is great, but everything we have addresses on is like, that's the
Okay,
problem.
Sue,
It's not.
Can you mute this if you're? Oh,
I think we just
sorry.
did. Okay.
The problem seems to me is not like our E911 because I'm not being sent on a tablet to a space. An address isn't populating for me. Like I just pull it up on my phone.
Okay.
And so
So thank you. First questions from any select board members.
Yeah,
No,
so
I think he has a lot of valid statements there. Sounds like a safety
So-
issue.
the E911 system, I mean, most of us that are in emergency service are familiar how it works, how it's measured out. How do a town like us try to be in compliance with that so that the measurements are right, the distance are right? It's okay for a small town like Rutland town or whatever, but if you start making this is where I have a problem with. I don't like to tell people that they got to change their address because it is a little bit of a hassle. You know, you got checkbooks, you got licenses, you got all these things that need to be changed. The point is, at what point do we let enough things slide where now we are no longer in compliance with what the system is out there? And that's how the system is done. If a address is off by 30 or 40 feet, well, that's not quite as big deal. But if it's several hundred yards or things like that. So some of the numbers are going to be out of whack with the measured distance. And that's the whole system. I'm sure you're familiar with how the system works. There's one number for 5.28 feet, which is 1,000 numbers in a mile. So if your house is at 1,000, that means it's a mile from where the numbering system started. We're all pretty familiar with that. How do we justify saying, okay, we're going to let this slide, and then the next time it comes around, and so once you start letting things slide, I think there might be a less detrimental solution to this, that some of the numbers may have to change, some might not, some might be close enough so they're okay. But I don't think that as a board, you know, it would be in our best interest to say, okay, we're not going to address this. Okay, that you have to see it from our
So
side
is
too.
there, because we're going to debate this.
Right. Well, that's
obviously,
my point is how do we,
Yeah.
how do we justify what we do?
Okay.
Either way.
There's a question in there. So do you have an answer?
well, I will tell you that we actually aren't educated in the ambulance world on the E911 system. So it's not taught in classes. I've done basic, advanced, and paramedic training now. It's not taught in our kind of on-the-job training. The only reason I even knew the E911 is because one of our senior members was a cop like 30 years ago. So he tells people about it. I think that maybe if we're looking at these numbers being changed, it should be a house by house basis, because I know 552 and 560 is a matter of 46 feet or whatever, and it's still our property. So it's I think believe measured on the corner, not the mailbox, from my understanding of our property. I think it just needs to be like, let's look at the properties and let's not do a.
Let's hear from the folks who are here to speak. Any other Gleason Road folks who would like to be heard?
Hit everything I need to hit.
Okay, good. Thank you. And what's your name, please?
Mike Roy. I'm a
Okay.
city Firefighter. I live at 555 Gleason Road.
Okay,
We're
good.
across the
Thank
street
you.
from each other.
Okay,
I see them
good.
every day.
All right, great. So thank you, Tanner.
Thank you.
Now we'll go to,
Mike, how far off is
Over.
your address?
Oh, so sorry. I was supposed to go to 5. Instead of 555, it was supposed to be 541.
okay,
Okay.
So it's about 14.
Okay.
all right. Now,
The only thing I'll say real quick is driving through the neighborhood today, for an emergency services standpoint, every mailbox I looked at has numbers on it. So finding a house is not an issue out there.
Okay, good to know. Thank you. Grover Drive. Now, we've heard from some of you. So if you could like sit back and let your neighbors speak this time, I'd be grateful. There's two hands up. Yes,
I've
sir.
got a medication schedule, unfortunately, I've got to stick to. If I
Okay.
may be rude and preempt my
You're
neighbors.
called upon.
Okay. Thank you.
You're on camera, you know, just
I
saying.
know it, but for how many years I had to behave? But I still have to, I promised my wife. Some of you may know me, I'm John Sly. I have lived in the town since 1981, 82. I've been a volunteer firefighter. I've been a police officer for the city, been a police officer for the town. I am an emergency responder, or used to be before retirement. I was also the 911 coordinator for the city for a period of time. First, to the chief's question of how do we stay in compliance? There is no mandatory compliance for 911 addressing. It is a recommended protocol. It's a good protocol. It makes addressing easy, but it's not a mandatory. Number one. Number two, the 911 addressing is based upon mileage. As a first responder, either in a police vehicle or one of our fire trucks, I never looked at my odometer reading when I turned onto a road. I don't think there's anybody, and I could be wrong, but I don't think there's anybody that says when they turn onto a road, they hit their little odometer button and they start watching the fence click off so that they know where an address is.
I do, but I'm not a first responder.
Okay, and that's good. We're very lucky in the town that as I remember, and the chief may correct me, everybody has a mailbox because we're rural route. We are a motor-driven delivery service from the post office. So everybody's got a mailbox and everybody has it labeled. When I'm responding someplace in my past life, I look for mailbox numbers to know where I'm going. I'm also familiar with how the numbers range. If you were to come onto East Pittsford Road from Route 7, you know that's the beginning point. If you're looking for, as somebody brought up, 1000 East Pittsford Road, okay, you know you got to go a mile. Well, what if you're up on Meadow Lake Drive and you're coming from the other distance? You really aren't going to be quite sure how far you need to go to get down to 1000. Victoria Drive. It's a nice big loop. If you look at the inception point and you go the wrong way around the loop and you're looking at your odometer reading, you're going to be way off. But the mailboxes will keep you straight. It is my opinion, and only my opinion, that if we are looking to keep our neighbors, our friends, and our families safe, make sure that your home is clearly labeled with your house number. In the city, they use lot numbers. In big cities, they use block numbers. They don't use the 911 addressing protocol. And everybody gets around just fine. You know, again, we're not going to fall out of compliance if we don't change any numbers. I can tell you that where I live on Grover Drive, it's a tick over a mile long. No matter which way you go, you're going to find us. If you know how the numbers rotate around in a counterclockwise fashion and you're looking at high numbers, you know that you're going to take that left-hand turn onto where the loop cuts back into the main road.
John, can I ask you, what's your number now and what were you asked to change
Well,
to?
I don't have a dog in this fight. My number's not going to change.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But I just wanted to voice my opinion that if we're looking at keeping all of us safe, changing the numbers really isn't going to accomplish anything. All our addresses are clearly listed on our mailboxes, so we know where you need to go. Again, Colonial Drive is another example. If you go to an address on Colonial Drive that's in the high number range, as a first responder, you really aren't going to make that first right-hand turn off of East Pittsford Road onto Colonial Drive because you're going to have to go all the way around. You are going to know enough to go up to Georgiana, turn onto Georgiana, and then make your left-hand turn onto the other end of Colonial Drive, and you're going to be at the address far more quickly and efficiently than going back to the beginning of Colonial Drive and going all the way around. So again, as law enforcement officers, We know our neighborhoods. We know how the numbers run. So yes, it is easier for us to know what is the most expeditious way to get to an address. For our firefighters that don't really go out and cruise the streets like our police officers do, it might be a little bit different. But again, it's still changing the numbers are not going to enhance anybody's safety. It really isn't. And that's my opinion.
Okay, thank you. We have about 5 minutes
And I'm out of here.
left to go. Yes,
Thanks,
thank you
Dan.
for
Thank you.
coming.
Thank you so much.
Isaiah says hi. Anyone else from Grover who would like to be heard this evening? Yes, sir.
So Seth Richardson, I live at 57 Grover Drive. I had the opportunity to speak to the board on a previous occasion.
Yes, you have. Let me just quickly ask, is there anyone here from Grover who wants to speak, who has not spoken to the board? Okay, would you mind just
I'll keep
holding a
this
minute
very-
because you were, so if you
Can I
come up,
just
you
join?
stay right there.
Yeah, it will take me 2 seconds.
Okay. We want everyone to have a chance to be heard.
Sue Keith, 262 Grover Drive, proposed to 266 Grover Drive. So if I'm understanding right, I'm off by 4 digits. Times 5 is 20 feet. I have 300 feet of frontage at my house. There's my issue. So then I got curious about this whole thing and I went on to E911 and printed out the map. And I started to read and it's kind of shady. Is it the town's responsibility to decide if they want to enforce E911?
Is that a question?
Yes, it is.
Well, it's one of the things
It's
that we
not
have.
enforced, it's to participate in the system.
Yeah.
Okay,
Basically, so
but they,
and we have
it's not
adopted
a
that.
mandatory thing.
Well, we have adopted it throughout the town.
Yeah.
We've been
All
doing it for
neighborhoods?
years. Yeah.
Yes, it's a town-wide numbering system. When this started a number of years ago, and I don't remember, it started when I was on the fire department as fire chief and not as a board member, that we did this, and we've run into this. This is not the first instance of numbers being out of whack, and probably won't be the last. I think that, like, again, I think that what we need to do, and it may circumvent a lot of the conversation, is I think we need to, as a board, meet with somebody from 911 and sit down with them and look at this and see if we actually need to. What is proposed is to the letter of the system. Okay. Whether that needs to be changed or not, we need to get a ruling from somebody that's in the system. And so we sent the letters out because we felt that this was the way to go. Since then, we found that, well, some of these aren't too bad. And Bill is our town administrative assistant. He is also our 911 coordinator. His responsibility is to try to make it to the letter of what it says. Now, if it doesn't have to be, and if the 911 people can come in here and say, okay, these numbers are, they're within the property, as you said. So I think to save a lot of discussion tonight, because we're going to hear the same thing we've been
Right.
hearing, I think the last 2 times, I own this much, I'm not off that far.
Right.
I think just to speed it up, we just need to get somebody here from the 911, have them come in and talk to us. Maybe a special half-hour meeting or something and invite you people in. And if we can do this with the least amount of inconvenience to the neighborhood, that would be our goal. On the same token, in order for the town to be somewhat consistent, and this was my point when we discussed it, and I think the rest of the board is trying not to be inconsistent, because that could create some other issues down the road. So we're trying to be consistent,
Right.
but we got to try to be fair and try to not to create any more hate and discontent than we
Okay.
need to. So I think there's some things that can be done that are less traumatic, In your case, some of these numbers, I don't think it's going to be that. The other thing that is very important, and that's to John Sly's point, if people have their address clearly on a mailbox, on a post at the foot of their driveway, to me,
And they
having
are,
had to respond to a lot of houses over 45, 50 years. That's the big, whether the address is right or wrong, as long as that address matches where we're going, is more important in some respects. I just don't know how to do both. And I said this to the other gentleman. I don't know how to do both, to be in compliance to the point that we're not, kind of just turning a blind eye to how the system is set up.
Okay. So is that a motion?
Yes.
Second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded that we set up a special half-hour meeting, presumably at 5:30 some evening before our regular select board meeting.
Yep. And get somebody here from
Invite
911
someone from the state, E911,
to help us with this. Yep.
to discuss some of the issues we've been hearing about.
Yeah.
Now, we don't know tonight what that date is because we have to be in touch with the state officials. So motion's been made and seconded. Is there further discussion? No further discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. So we're going to have a special half-hour meeting. We're going to invite the E911 person from the state to give us some guidance on how to stay in compliance without being too
But
much.
compliance
Any
is
more,
not mandatory.
controversial than we have to be. That's what I'm getting at.
All right, yeah.
Try to do this in a manner that
I think where a lot of this originated was there was an address on Gleason Road that was essentially flopped. And there was the following address was lower than the one previous to it. And that's what opened this can of worms. And we obviously need to go back and relook at which addresses are actually far enough off to be concerned with and which ones are,
Can I have 5 minutes? Because I think I could probably.
I'm sorry, but we really are out of time and we're going to have another meeting. So we invite you to come back for that. And you have spoken once to the board and we appreciate that. So what I would like to do is make sure you folks check on the town's website for upcoming meetings. And if you check that, it will show what our agenda is and when we expect somebody from E911 to come to it. Okay, so we'll try and flag that for you, but make sure you check our website for upcoming select board meetings.
I have a request for the board, just a request. It's just a request.
Okay, real quick.
Can you send letters out to all of us that those first letters were sent to?
Say it's on
That
hold.
this is on hold, so we don't need to change our address.
Okay.
You're gonna have people changing. their
I know
address.
they are
So could you
going to be
send
getting
letters
to
out
the
them?
address.
Everyone that you sent the letter out.
Let's do this. When we know the date that the E911 hearing will be held, let's send the letter out in advance of that to tell people when it's going to be and also to let them know to hold. Okay? Does that make sense to folks? So you have plenty of time. Sharon?
Yeah, I would just like to ask that we let this gentleman speak.
Thank you.
Only because he came up here, he looks like he's frustrated by it, and I understand that.
Yeah.
So I think it behooves us
Okay.
to at
Please
least
be
give him.
respectful of our time too. We have heard from you once before.
So I just want to hit a couple high points here. So Tyler Hermanson, if I'm pronouncing the last name right, already provided his audit to the select board with his recommendations. On the recommendations on Grover Drive I can speak to, there was only 5 or 6 recommendations for addresses to be changed. The rest of these addresses, I spoke with Tyler in person and it was not his recommendation to change these addresses. And if we want to keep speaking in compliance, there's a lot of addresses that aren't compliant. If we're going to nitpick 20 feet of an address being off, I mean, that's a
You're
margin of
not to
error.
interrupt you, but you're not saying anything different than what we've discussed.
Well, I am, Joe, because
But
of
I
the
haven't
fact-
seen that. I haven't seen that.
This
And
was
I'm,
it- this
but
was
I
in-
haven't seen that. And we've made a decision here as a board to invite somebody in here from the state and clear this up with us. And I think you should understand that that's our responsibility. Have any of the rest of you seen that?
This is
We
what
saw
Bill
the-
provided to you at a select board meeting.
We-
That-
I
saw
didn't,
that.
maybe I missed that.
It was probably.
Okay,
in a
then I'll
meeting where-
apologize for not seeing it, but we've already come up with what we think is a reasonable solution and you're just rehashing what we've already talked and it's a
So-
waste of your time and ours
Well,
at
it's
this
actually
point.
not, because you're asking for the 911 board to come and explain this when they've already provided an audit to you explaining it, that the recommendations weren't made.
Well, we're still going to have somebody come.
We're still gonna
so-
have somebody here.
To ask the board is where in communication, the letter states that it was at the request of the 911 board. And I don't
Yes, and I
see
think
that.
that's the point you made before as well. So we have all of those things in mind. We appreciate your comments. Okay. So please feel free to come back when we set the meeting again. Thank you folks who did come, and we'll let you know when we've reset it, and follow up on that suggestion to let people to hold right now. Okay. We appreciate that. Okay. Thank you, folks. Any other questions from any other public comments? I think dog park is next, right? Okay, now just to recap, we did receive a petition several months ago for a particular area in Northwood Park to be designated as a dog park. We realized that it belonged to the school district. So we so informed you and sent you to the school district.
And they said that was a good use of that
Okay,
property. And so we would like to do that.
okay,
I know it's been a while since I've been here, but I personally had medical issues and my family, I have 3 siblings. We're getting older. So
we don't always get right on top of things either, so.
Things
I
take time.
finally got over that. And I know that Nate was at the dog day in the
Mhm.
park. And I asked him to join me and he said, sure.
Okay,
So we did a little bit of homework.
So I'm Nate. I
Hi,
own
Nate.
Everyday Canine in the city. I'm a town resident, live on Roy Ave, and I use Northwood Park a lot. And she came to me, and I do not particularly like dog parks. Like a fenced-in area, traditional, what you would think of is like a dog park where you take your dogs, let them off leash, and who knows what happens. I think it creates a lot of bad habits and whatnot. But I am all about having a space that you're allowed to have your dog off leash.
off leash.
Off leash, yes. As long as there's some sort of protocol that people are expected to follow. I think the biggest problem with dogs off leash is going up to other dogs who are on leash, and it's pretty rude. So when she came to me, I was like, I'll help with this as long as we have some way to like establish rules and let it be known that like you're responsible for your dog's behavior and whatnot. So
We came up with this.
so this is like an idea of some signage we could have at the dog park or whatnot.
Excuse me.
And my idea of a good dog park is like Northwood Park could be a dog park alone.
You're saying the whole thing?
Yep, nothing else. As long as we establish some ground rules, like, you know, dogs are allowed off leash in the wooded area of the trails instead of in the parking lots, not on the parking lots, not on the roads, not on the ball fields, but I don't know, that area kind of behind the transit center, that big field with the big hill. Like, there's no reason that can't be used for someone to play frisbee with their dog. Or walking through the woods, there's no reason your dog can't be off leash in those instances, as long as these rules are adhered to. And this is the case in a lot of public parks that are in towns like ours or cities where they allow the town itself has a leash ordinance, but they allow dogs maybe during certain hours, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. or 6 a.m. to noon, where dogs are allowed off leash in designated areas. So minimal cost to the town with great benefit to the residents.
Hey, questions from select board members?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. First of all, I walk quite a bit and I walk up at Northwood.
Mhm.
I'm not too big, as you can see. And I got knocked on my butt by a dog up there.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like,
But,
you should not
but
allow
the
your
problem
dog
is
off leash.
that everybody is not like you or you. So, say I got hurt badly, they're going to come after the town. I think it puts the town in jeopardy.
So what about towns that don't
Wait
have?
a minute, let her finish, please.
Okay.
Go ahead.
My daughter has 5 dogs, which I think is 4 too many, but you know, that's a mother. But dogs on a leash, I have no problem. but I already got knocked over up there. Not everybody follows the rules. Not everybody cleans up after their dogs.
So what's the difference now between you have a leash ordinance and someone's dog came up to you and knocked you over versus
Well,
so
then
we
that's that
already
per-
have rules and people don't
But
follow.
that's that person's fault, because
No,
if they
that's
have
what
it
we're
on a leash, they should have the leash in their hand and they should control that animal. But if it's
So the
off
dog was
leash,
on a leash
It's
and knocked you
still-
over?
no,
Okay.
No.
But
they're
it's still
they're
that person's fault.
Yeah,
Is
they're
what we're
breaking-
saying.
Okay,
they're
before we
breaking
get
the
into
rules.
a big
They're breaking the
debate
law.
here, are there any other questions from other select board members? Yes, sorry, go ahead,
Question,
Matt.
so we can't turn this into a committee meeting, so we really
Right.
can't get into the back and forth, and we may have to send this to a committee to discuss, but I just want to clarify, I think you said at the beginning, did you say you spoke to the school board and they said, okay?
They said it was
They
a
thought it
good
was a good
use
idea.
of their property,
Okay.
but that they would
So-
have to negotiate with the
Okay.
town because they want some reimbursement for the use of their
Well,
land.
well, because it's not
That
our,
little part, right?
because it's not our land.
that's
I
not
mean, we
ours.
need to
We're not gonna
remind-
pay to,
that specific piece, this doesn't necessarily go to what Nate's addressing with the park in general, but that particular piece of property that was at issue initially, the town does not own, the school district owns. So that's a whole other thing we would have to get into with the school district
Right.
as to how to deal with that, just to be clear.
If I could say something, you see, I look at the whole problem from a whole different perspective. In that, if you're a parent, you want to do the best you can for your children. If you're a person and you're retired, sometimes to do what's good for you, you go and get a dog. Now, if you go and get a dog, just like you go and get a child, you are responsible for the dog. And the dog and that person has to meet some requirements. The person needs exercise. The person needs good food. The dog needs exercise. The dog needs good food. If I were to make the rules, I'd make every dog go get training. Just like they get a tag for having rabies, I would have them come in once a year and say, show me your training certificate. All right, as
So,
part of a license,
I think,
you
I
know.
think I understand. Matt was about to suggest that this issue be sent to a committee. So did you want to make a motion, Matt?
Yeah, I guess I
Okay.
would move that it go back to our rec committee now that we have,
But just when you go to committee, I don't think a lot of people seeing it from the point of view of make it an issue that the dog to be allowed off leash on those
Well,
times.
by sending it to a
trained.
committee, will give the committee an opportunity to dig a little deeper, to hear all of your concerns and your ideas and your theories, and then make a recommendation to the full board. We
Right.
can't cover in 10 minutes tonight the
Okay.
whole issue, but sending it to the rec committee will allow them to dig deeper with your assistance and
Might
maybe
even
come up with
charge for
something.
that little pass.
There you go. There's an
Okay,
idea.
so
There's
motion's
no
been
idea.
made to
That's a good
send
one.
the issue to the rec committee. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Discussion from the select board. If not, all in favor, please say aye.
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 I-
Okay,
Even though I'm not a dog trainer, I just wanted to give myself some credibility for knowing dogs.
Yeah.
very nice.
you know what? If everybody was like you, and you picked up after your dog, and you took care of your dog, we wouldn't be having this discussion.
Right, but
But
that's,
unfortunately,
Right.
that isn't what happens.
but that's why I was adding that piece that says to use this park during, just like a pool pass.
Yeah, that's not
You
a bad
know,
That's
idea.
not a bad
You,
idea.
Well,
you
that's-
are,
I
You are
scribbled a
aware
note
that-
on that, and I
Yeah.
think the rec department or the rec
Yeah,
committee
I'm
will
rec.
take that all under
Okay,
consideration.
But
So
I
thank
think
you,
that's a great
folks.
idea,
thank you. Thank you so much.
you know.
Okay,
There's a lot of moving dynamics to that.
yes, there
Yeah.
are.
I'm not opposed to some sort of dog park in Northwood at all. It's just figuring out the dynamics of how we're gonna get all
Well,
this
I think
done.
the idea, a trained dog
You know, we
You
got,
know, you do remember, Sharon, we were this close to closing the park from dogs altogether
I know.
in the
That's
spring.
right.
Okay,
Yeah.
But
it's
we-
not the dog's fault. Okay,
No.
and nothing you people can say or do is going to change.
Well, actually, once we,
Responsibility onto owners.
once we actually did that by raising the issue, and we've had very, very good compliance. I've walked up there a few times. I think
That was
you've
part of
walked
the
up there a
event that I
lot.
held up there. It was for that purpose. Like,
And
I-
it was also to, and we've had good compliance. So the dogs are on leash and they are picked up after, which is a big goal. So, okay, thank you, folks.
Okay.
And again,
Thank
check
you.
our website for committee meeting listings, so you'll know when the rec committee is going to meet.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, speaking of recreation, Mike Rowe, Town Rec Director.
definitely have to have some sort of fence around it, but not opposed to something.
Hi, Mike.
It's going to be an expensive
Hello.
thing. but-
Hey, glad you're back. You look great. Nice vacation, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Gonna do it all over again, aren't you?
Did you
Yeah,
want to grab
one
a
more.
picture? Or should I
Um,
just,
So it looks like we have to have a rec committee, so we can discuss that and
Yeah.
go something. We'll do that.
No.
Maybe there's still the one that does the fence or something, I don't know.
I don't have much. I'm on my last mow. Chuck is on his last there, over there, and then the water will be shut off on after the 20th for the entire park because we have one last event on the 20th. Big cross country meet within the park, and after that the water will be shut off. But mowing is done. Just small park work to be done. The signs are up at both Dewey and Northwood. They came in one day last week and they're up there now, stating the rules that you asked for. So they're
okay,
up and in place. And I took down the old Dewey signs that said from 8 to 10, whatever it was. So those are all gone.
okay.
So that there's no like, well, that sign says that. That sign
Yeah.
says that. So those are all gone. Other than that, getting ready for the Halloween party. That's on the 27th for town residents. From 5 to 6 right behind school, trick or treat on the trail. And we'll be doing that again. And that's been a huge success. So we'll continue. I just spent gobs of money on candy. So eventually you'll get your little trickle down share.
Thank you, thank you.
As it goes through. Other than that, basketball is going. I just talked with Bill. We finalized the town residents can now sign up online and pay online, correct, for their rec activities, basketball, soccer, those kind of things. We have not addressed the pool part. Well, Kari and I can chat with that.
You got a few months.
We got time for that, but they are allowed to go online. So thanks to Bill and Kari and all the people that did the legwork to bring us up to, the 20th century. Other than that, I don't have a lot unless you guys have questions for me.
Questions?
The park's still busy as can be.
Did we mow part of the town school's property up there in Northwood?
We're in a roundabout way, kinda, yeah.
Okay.
As far as what?
I was just asking because, if they're gonna look for compensation for,
Yeah.
a dog park, we can start billing them for mowing.
I mean, I mow within the disc golf,
Yeah.
Mhm.
so I keep that down because we seeded it when we built it. So I mow that. So that part of that is on there. And I mow when you first go to the right of the transfer station. I mow that a couple of times a year. It's not really grass, but I mow the hillside because that does grow grass. And down where our ninth hole for our basket is, I mow around there. Other than that, I don't do any of the people that rent the field for softball mow up on the hill part and take care of that. So I do if it affects us in a little bit of way.
Yeah.
I do, but it's not it's like one field. It's like a couple times during the summer.
Yeah.
It's not really grass.
So I'm going to bring up what I bring up every time this discussion comes up.
Okay.
Have we looked into the town taking over that and
Yeah.
owning it?
We sort of have.
And did we
You-
get a,
You charged me with talking with the chair of the school board
Yeah.
about this. We actually happened to be in, and this is several months back.
Yep.
We were here and she had started to pull maps of the property, so she had a better understanding of where things were. And so she made, and some of the old deeds by which the town deeded the property to the school, I think that's how it happened. And I've got those sitting on my desk at home. Neither one of us, I suspect the two of us got wrapped up in other things, but we
Life.
did, we did start the connections.
Okay.
And it is something we agreed we probably should,
I
pursue
think-
somewhat further.
I think that before we move forward with a dog park or anything, there were some concerns about the city trying to take that property by eminent domain because of the reservoir and their watershed and
Yeah.
what's going on up there. And as long as the school owned it, they couldn't do that,
Yeah.
which I don't know if it would be any difference if the municipality owned it.
I
or
don't
the
think
school.
it would. I sort of did float that by town council and I
And-
don't
and I-
think it makes a difference.
And so I think before, as a town and as a municipal government, we spend any money to fence in an area or do anything, I think we should see about acquiring that because, as you know, that property was originally purchased to put a high school on.
Yes.
And then that didn't happen. And then somehow it got divided between municipal and school. And I think it should all be under one hat. I don't think the school wants to take over the whole park.
I don't,
So it would be much more advantageous if, and I don't even know how many acres we're talking anymore. So we need to know that, and then that would all come under recreation and all be part of the municipal government. But I think that should be our first goal before we even go any further with any of the rest of this.
okay, fair enough.
Because-
So I will,
I agree with you. I mean, I have plans, which I'm not gonna voice, but
Yeah.
Sharon and I have talked a little bit about.
If you could, maybe, Mary, when you look at this, I just like to know what we're talking in acreage at some point.
oh, yeah, okay.
If it's 2 acres or 4
No,
acres
it's,
or 10.
remember when we
Considerable.
did
You did the timber,
when we did
Yeah,
the
this
timber
tim-
sales, that was roughly,
50-50.
well, slightly more for us, but not by much.
Right.
So they own quite a bit up there.
Right. And I'm just thinking, and if it requires us to purchase it, which as much as I hate to
Well,
say
that's
that,
why we were going back to see how the deeds were worded, because if there were no compensation back then and we just deeded it over,
Right.
then why should we pay to have it come back? So that was kind of where we were, but that's going to take a little research in the vault.
so,
Fine, that would be me.
but I
Research
think
in the
that's the
vault.
first question. And then once we get past that, then we can get, because it would make your life a lot easier.
Yep.
Because then you could do whatever. And, if we have to do some kind of buffer zone between what the city owns and what the town owns, that's fine. There wouldn't be allowed for dogs or people. I know they're concerned about contamination, but to the best of my knowledge, Northwood is mostly downhill.
Yeah.
From the reservoir.
Yeah.
And unless the laws of physics change,
They came in at the best place.
water does,
Right.
it doesn't run uphill. So anyway,
Okay,
thank you.
I'll pick up that thread when we get some of these other things.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else for Mike Rowe?
Thanks,
I
Mike.
do one thing. I want to thank Dave and the boys. We had a little extra concrete, so they gave me a nice little pad outside one of the buildings. So that's just going to make life a little easier.
Okay.
Thanks to them for that. Appreciate that.
Good, thanks.
Glad you're back. For my meatballs.
Actually, I have plenty stopped by the house.
Dave Sears, Town Road Commissioner.
The number of
Just for the
meetings.
record, it wasn't extra. We ordered it specifically for Mike.
So wait a minute, didn't you get us something or did? Yeah, he got a generator. So, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a roundabout way. Yeah.
Yes, true. So we spent some time on Quarterline in the last couple weeks. Clarendon residents extremely happy. And Joe will cover some of that in a few minutes. We replaced the culvert on Post Road. We're gonna pave that tomorrow morning, so that'll go away. We did pour the slab for the said generator last Thursday, got that done, and we hooked up Mike. And today, well, actually on Saturday, a rather large oak tree fell across Grove Street, north of Rich Cussel's place, and we spent the entire morning cutting that thing up because it was ginormous. So that's kind of where we've been the last couple of weeks. We spent a lot of time on Quarterline.
Well, I did hear about
back
that,
in.
and I am to convey thanks from Mrs. Haliba for taking care of the section that had become a dumping ground.
We're working. That's not quite done yet, but we're working. We took the material from the ditching and put it down there, and we still got to put some more in there. But in order to get in to dump the trucks, we actually had to run a couple people out of the spot. So it's been interesting.
Feeling of
And it's not just,
satisfaction.
but it's not just there. We found all kinds of paraphernalia up on Quarterline, just in, you know, if that spot is busy, they just go someplace else. So.
Okay. Ed's making note.
Yeah.
He probably already knows.
I'm
but
sure.
Yeah.
And then on Thursday, we had a committee meeting. That's your segue.
It was at the 17 item agenda.
It was,
we had
It was
12.
the marathon.
it was too much.
It was 12, but you know, we got through it actually pretty fast. The first thing on our agenda for that meeting was David asked for proposals for designing a fix to the high spot on North Grove Street, right at the old Gurdon Farm where Rich Cussell lives. The line
Yes, yeah.
the line of sight going north is terrible. And when his guys come out, they just can't see the traffic coming, and JP will attest to the speed of the traffic on North Grove Street. So, they put this out. We got one proposal back. It was for $9,975 to design this. It would be the recommendation of the board that we do this. That's a pretty big safety hazard there. And I understand it, the former owner of the property was hit there by a vehicle a number of years ago. So, there is potential, and by the looks of the skid marks in the road, they've had a couple of close calls there recently. We had kicked around about how to do this, whether we put this amount of money into the next budget, which means this wouldn't get kicked off until a year from now, would be a couple of years out. And then I got to thinking, we do have an engineering line in Dave's budget. We have probably spent most of that, but because of the unique properties of the highway budget with allowing funds to be carried over, I think it would be possible that we could initiate this now and at least get the design work started so that maybe we could move the project ahead about a year.
Well, according to Kari's printout and highway engineering services,
Yeah,
we budgeted 30,000 and we have 26,250 left a couple of months in. So,
right. There was 30 from last year also.
okay.
So the totals together came to 60. We have authorized 42,000 to VHB for the finish the
Yes,
road work,
yes.
the design work, and we have allocated an additional 15,000 to Otter Creek to design the culvert on Stratton Road up there. So
Okay.
we have spent approximately 57,000. So we got about 3 left, which would allow us, that particular line item went over, but because of the nature of that budget, there's, once that money goes into carryover, it's not really earmarked for any specific function, right, Kari? Pretty much. I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit, but the town highway has got that weird carryover. So once that money goes back into the budget, it's there to be used, right? But it's
Certain circumstances.
certain circumstances.
right, but it's there. And it could be used. So if the engineering budget went over by 6,000, it was we spent 66 instead of the 60. There would be money there to cover it without. Yes, okay. Because I don't know because if you have money left over in each individual line, then theoretically that money would have to go to that line for the next year. And that would create some kind of a bookkeeping nightmare for
Yeah,
you.
no, yeah.
So I would propose that we authorize Dave to have it was it Otter Creek that Otter Creek that came in with that proposal. We did not get a response from the other firm that we sent out a request to, but
So is that a motion?
that's a motion. Yep.
Second,
Motion's been made to hire Otter Creek Engineering at just under $10,000, 9,975, to engineer a fix for the sightline issue on North Grove Street. Any further discussion?
So
Yeah.
I'm confused now after that discussion is where the money is coming from, or if we have it.
We will overspend the engineering portion of Dave's budget.
But there are other lines where you
But there
think
are, but there
is
are other funds because whatever he had left over in that budget. So the 30,000 that was from the year before is in the budget.
Yeah, but you've
And then we spent
Spent it.
30, but that's what I'm saying. There, it's there, and then there's,
But
it's
there's
the only
also-
budget
There's
that,
also carryover from previous years.
yeah, there's other carryover from engineering.
So what, if there, basically, if there's any money left in the highway budget on June 30, when the budget closes, that money goes to a separate.
So is there
account
like a
called carryover.
reserve account that we have that we are drawing on?
I mean, it's
Right.
not a physical different account. It's
I understand,
basically it's money that's accounted for, that's already earmarked.
Yeah, and it's still available
So
for
how-
highway, right? It's only available
Yes,
for
it's
highway.
only
So if,
Available for highway.
right.
So how much is that now?
But we ended the year, and I don't have my figures in front of me, but
I believe it was just
Andrew
under
usually
200,000.
tweaks it when he's doing the audit, like to make it a firm.
Yeah, I mean,
believe it was just
actually,
under
you
200.
used up some of the surplus this past year
Right.
anyway, because we were trying to spend that
Spend
down.
it down, right?
Yeah.
So, okay,
So this, when Joe's talking about the 30 carryover from last year on this line, it's really part of that pot of
Right.
general carryover from all lines.
Right.
From all lines.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's plenty more that hasn't been spent.
Previous years, like it's.
yeah,
it goes back,
I mean,
it goes back, predates you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And what Dave is trying to do is work toward minimizing that. Winter maintenance is probably the biggest culprit because you don't know how much you're going to spend for winter maintenance, and it can go both ways.
So let me put it this way, Carrie, do we have the money?
Let me get back at you.
Well, I mean, I'd like to do the project, but I'd like to confirm we have the
So
money
again,
available. so we
I
don't-
keep, once I get my brain wrapped around this, because they didn't do this in my previous life. Once July 1st hit, everything just went away. So this carryover thing was new to me. So it took me a while to get my brain wrapped around it.
Mhm.
And I keep pretty decent tabs on it now because it was so large and we've been trying to spend it down. And we were just over 300,000 last year.
Yeah.
And we spent like 94, 96. We went over because of paving FY 23. So that took that down another, call it 100,000. So there's roughly 200,000, just under 200,000 in that accounting place that she keeps it.
But it's available.
How do you feel about that rough description of your accounting place? Do you think,
It's a shoebox, yeah.
I mean, is there comfortable margin there, or do you think we need to table this issue and come back
I
to it?
want to table it because I want the real figures. Not that I'm disagreeing, I just want real figures. I didn't realize. we were-
So, okay, I guess I would move to table the issue
okay.
then.
Motion's been made to table. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded, non-debatable. All in favor of tabling, please say aye.
Aye. Okay.
Okay, so Bill, if you could stick that on the bottom of the agenda to remind us that we need to do it. Okay, what else?
So we talked about the sidewalk and the shared use path, and Dave's working to get us an extension. He was hoping that maybe Wilkes might get some time and come up and pave what he has done, but we don't know if that's gonna happen. Have you heard anything? You haven't heard back about the extension? Okay. It's just the rain this summer just made everything.
It does look much better.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, you've tidied it up, you took down the stakes and the tape and all of that, so it does look better.
It's so he's still working on that. We touched on highway grants, working on that. We just brushed over the Carmel Place paving and whatever they
Oh,
want to
yeah.
do up there, and they haven't provided us with the information that we've asked for, so we're not worried about
Several
that.
years, yeah.
We're going to try to set up a site visit for Simons Avenue in
Okay.
the intersection of Route 4A out there to maybe to help try to slow traffic. The only thing that can be done to slow traffic is make that a 90-degree intersection, which will change the amount, and that would require the state's involvement and the landowners' involvement. So we'll try to set up a site visit. Dave talked about Boardman Hill, and he's working on that. the Dyer Road parking and that issue, we're going to start the process for putting that up, or throwing that road up. So that'll be in the mix. We discussed the fog line painting on North Grove Street. One of the problems with that is it's such a small distance that to get a company to come in to do that would be cost prohibitive. And although research shows that that works, I have talked with our second constable. I've talked to a number of people that are kind of involved with this, and they don't think it'll have the desired effect because people on North Grove Street will just drive. They're not concerned about that. If that road was one lane and ground, I think they'd still drive 50 miles an hour. There is just the nature of the way it is. The boys were up there. They fixed that short section of Quarter Line Road, got it smoothed out. They got an excavator in the road. They've got dump trucks in the road. They got 4 or 5 people working in the road, and the cars were still going by them 40 miles an hour. You know, yeah, as soon as it's just the nature of the motoring public.
I
But
would say it's still something that I
We're-
think we could explore.
we are with more research. One of the issues is if we're doing it ourselves, we have to have a different type of line stripe painting device. What we have is not adequate. And I refuse to allow our road crew to get the criticism that the former road crew got when they did these pictures.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was bad.
So, I've offered to
It
help.
was a try. It just,
Yes.
nope, they tried it.
It
Just-
don't work.
No.
Yeah, so
It
we're
didn't work.
going to avoid that. I have offered my services to help build something that we could attach to
Oh,
one of the trucks and guide wheel and actually make something work. So,
good.
winter
Works there, bring it down to Creek Road.
what's that?
I said if it works up there.
Well,
bring it
that
down
was
to
one of the
Creek Road.
thoughts. If we had something we could
Yeah.
do ourselves, and it just required the guys going out buying paint and the proper device to do it, the major roads, East Pittsford Road, Grove Street, Crick Road, and some of the others could have line striping done. And that might help a little bit.
Okay.
The winter maintenance contract, I think that was discussed on one meeting. I wasn't here, but we have moved. We're going to reduce the number of call outs to 40 for the same money for this
Okay,
winter.
so do we need a motion on that? Do we do, I'm trying to think of, because we had to set the contract last year.
Right, the wording will be the same except for the call outs,
the-
right?
The
Call out
number.
number is the only thing that's different.
Going to change. So I don't know if that's,
The pay amounts are the same. Everything is.
All right, so let's get it
Call-outs.
in the minutes. So if you make a motion. we'll go
I'll
in
make a
there.
motion that we reduce the number of call outs from 43 to 40 for the same rate of pay as previous.
Second.
Second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded, same rate of pay, and we're not doing the fuel bonus,
No,
correct?
no,
Correct.
no,
Okay.
it's just the number of call outs.
All right, so any discussion of dropping the call?
Only that
numbers? Matt?
the one contractor left, Tim Hubbard and his boys are on board with this. They actually suggested it, so.
Okay, all right.
So this is a train the new guy thing. Does this mean that once they get above whatever the fixed number of call outs is, that the rate just changes?
No,
Yeah.
they actually get the same rate per mile. It's just, they get paid for each call out. They are guaranteed 40 call outs
So they get paid a fixed amount
for the winter.
So if it doesn't snow, they get paid for the 40.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then once you get above 40, they get,
It's $56 a mile.
$56 a
Yeah.
mile.
Yeah, that's the way it works
So,
out.
Like, say one, Tim Hubbard, for example, senior, I think his route is like 7.5 miles. So he gets $56 times 7.5 miles for call number 41
To the end of time.
till if
Or
he
the
gets
budget's
42, he gets that, 43, he gets that,
Winter.
whatever. But
Got it.
Really? Because it took me like 12 years to get it.
it's
You
not
just
that
got
hard.
it.
Once you understand the formula, it's easy to figure out, but understanding the formula was a little trying. I had to work it backwards.
So
that's how I did it. I had to undo it.
Yeah.
The big reason this year why hopefully it's not gonna be that much of an issue is because we have 3 7-yard trucks now. So for small in between all day snowstorms, we can chase the roads with our trucks and not have to call the contractors out.
Okay, gotcha.
So the contractors will hopefully not be called out as much as they used to be because we can chase things with our own trucks.
Well, that makes sense.
So they may end up just getting their 40 and then
Yeah, they might not have what
they may,
what
yeah,
they used to call bonus land.
yeah.
So
They might
that,
not have both
yeah, I
bonus land.
remember watching the numbers. Motion's been made and seconded to adjust the call out numbers to 40, down from 43. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
And then Dave did a little work on, he had to have an electrician in there do some fixing. And we had a proposal for about 8,000 or 9,000 to upgrade the lighting in the highway garage, and we're gonna put that, I guess, on hold because we're still working about some energy efficiency stuff there.
Yeah.
So, we had discussed the idea of putting a ceiling in that garage because of the nature of the garage, all the heat's in the top, but that could be cost prohibitive because once you put a ceiling in, then we've got to have sprinklers below the ceiling and sprinklers above the ceiling. And if the ceiling is, it won't be heated, but it's, you got to make sure it doesn't. So that kind of went right down. That went out pretty quick.
Okay.
So we're going to move forward that. And then the only other thing was a proposal on replacing the 350 with a single wheel crew cab F-350 Ford through the state purchasing policy. And
What is a single wheel?
it's set of like a regular pickup. It'll have
Instead of do wheels on
the
back.
back. It'll just be a
It's a
four-door
little
pickup.
misleading.
Is it? It's got two wheels.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
Unicycle.
Yeah, for those of us that
on the
are,
back.
yeah, I guess I
you gotta buy. Ford's getting real
Not
tight. You gotta
including
buy the
steering.
other tire.
That's right.
Yeah,
Another
yeah, it's a
12
strike.
years of learning for me,
Harry,
I
it's a
guess.
strike thing. The guy that puts the right rear on, he's just not showing up.
It's an accelerated
We
course
gotta
tonight
pull
on the
that on
highway.
ourselves.
So I sometimes think that everybody knows what I know, and I've been called on this a lot of times. You have to explain things, Joey. But anyway, it will be almost a carbon copy of what the town fire department has,
Okay.
only just a newer. And the price of that vehicle is $59,987. And it'll be approximately 16,000 to set that up from Earl's Truck Repair for a sander and a front plow.
Okay.
And
So where are you going to get the money?
the money will come from the highway depreciation account.
How much is in there?
That I don't know right off the top of my head, but
Over
Kari?
200,000.
about 200,
Over, a little over 200.
over 200.
This is a different highway depreciation account from the one Carrie's put in the
Different account.
shoebox.
Different
Yeah.
account.
No, that's
From our
carryover.
shoebox, right?
Yeah, that's budget money and this is replacement money.
Okay.
And you know, the last time we did this, we voted as a board to keep that 350.
Yeah.
And then we voted to apply that as part of Dave's hiring package. So part of the motion to purchase the truck would be that the existing 350 front plow and sander would be sold, and that money would be returned to the
To the
depreciation.
depreciation fund. Okay, so are you making that
That
motion
has a
now?
motion, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I understand this is state bid price, so we don't need to go out to bid. So motion's been made, seconded by Kurt to purchase a new Ford F-350 with 4 wheels instead of 6.
Yep.
For the state bid price of $59,987 plus the additional plow and sander for $16,000, and whatever the total is, that's what it is.
Yep.
Money to come from the highway depreciation account. Motion's made and seconded. Discussion.
And we may or may not see it
Yeah, I
in
was,
our lifetime now that they're on strike.
They're still saying 120 days, but
Yeah. Is that calendar days, work days, or do you have any
the
idea?
days.
Days, yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
okay.
Days they decide to show up at the
Well,
plant.
with a fire truck, they'll tell you 300 days to build it, but it's work days.
Work
So
days.
then you divide that by 5 days a week and you figure out how many weeks.
Oh,
you're
I was
up.
talking to Earls about it. They're like, so by the time you get this and we get it set up, it won't snow anymore. I'm
Right.
like, yeah, probably.
Yeah,
Right.
so why don't we hold on selling the old one?
Right,
to
right.
Make sure we get the thing in
Oh,
here.
yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. The old truck will go after this truck is in service.
Okay, so motion's been made and seconded. Any more discussion on the purchase of the new truck and plow package? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Right.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Very good. Thank you for your patience.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
That's the end of it.
That's it.
Which
That's all
year?
you got for Christmas.
Yeah.
And then-
Yeah,
Let's go back
Merry
to, are
Christmas
you done with your
2025.
report? 'Cause
That is, yep, that's the
I
end
did
of it.
want to go back to Dyer Road. We have received some guidance from town attorney about what we need to do, and I'm pulling it up because there is a process. So
Oh, yeah.
we need to set a time and a date to do a site visit to Dyer Road and to receive testimony, preferably two separate events, because trying to take testimony while you're on site is difficult to do. So the abutters have to receive 30 days advance notice of the site visit and hearing by certified mail. So we're looking, even if we did it now, probably after Thanksgiving for the site visit and discussion, to give Bill enough time to send the notices out. And I think we voted to move ahead with giving up Dyer Road as a town road. So
30 days, we won't be able to have a site visit, like you said, till after Thanksgiving.
yeah,
Do you want to, like, the 27th, Monday morning
27th.
of November?
That's coming, that's coming off the long holiday weekend. You sure you want to do it right after the Thanksgiving weekend?
Why? Did something happen over those 4 days that,
No, it's just some people go on vacation trips. Not that I've got.
I don't know. It's deer season. Where else
Oh.
can you go?
deer season will be over by then, right?
Yeah, it'll be the Monday right after.
Yeah,
Okay.
Monday after, yeah.
So Kurt's good with
I'm good.
Monday, November 26th.
The only glitch to that is whether or not Dave and his crew will be out plowing. But I think that would be.
If I
good.
gotta break
Let's-
away for that, that's not a big deal.
Okay.
Let's hope not.
Let's
Yeah.
hope not.
Monday.
I hope you don't have to plow.
January 1st,
Yeah.
first plow.
November, okay, so we'll set the site visit for what time, 9 AM?
Yeah, that worked.
On Monday, November 27th?
Yeah.
And when's our next select board meeting after that? It would be the following week,
Be December 4th.
December, it looks like 4th.
We're the what, the 21st? Yeah,
Yeah. 4th.
it'd be the 5th.
Yeah, no.
According to my little calendar thing here.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're right.
It's here for a reason.
Yeah.
So Tuesday, December 5th.
Yeah, that'll work out good, won't it?
I'll be out of.
And then we can have the hearing
Resources
portion
given to you.
on that. Okay.
Yep.
So let's see, we usually set the hearing portion maybe at 7 o'clock. We start the select board meeting at 6.
Yep.
Hearing
I-
7 PM.
I believe there are two adjacent owners. Is that, I think, am I right, Bill? I think it's
United Turf and,
yeah, United Ag and Turf and Mandela's.
Mandela's. Okay. All right. So motion's been made and seconded by somebody who did. Joey did and Kurt seconded.
Sure, yeah.
I think so.
Right down.
To have the site visit set for Monday, November 27th at 9 AM and the hearing on giving up Dyer Road as a town road for December 5th at 7 PM. That's in the middle of a regular select board meeting.
I figured that this,
All,
Oh,
do you
sorry.
want a
No.
further discussion? Okay, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. So, Bill, you're all set. Thank you.
All right, and I think that is the end of me talking for a minute.
Okay, not that we don't enjoy your sites.
Dave, you haven't had any luck finding a home for your big trucks for the winter, have you?
no, they're comfortably resting outside.
Okay,
All right, if anybody has any ideas, I've talked to numerous people, but I haven't, come up with any. Some of the ideas were on the south end of town, which I think is inconvenient. So I'm not sure of anywhere else, but I'll keep looking.
all right.
Harp.
Anything else for our road commissioner? All right, thank you very much, Dave.
Thank you, guys.
All right, do we have Marcia Chioffi on this evening?
No.
Okay,
Mary,
Chris, sorry.
I didn't know, there was this one thing about the road numbers, and I don't know when we wanted to. We were gonna try to talk with Marcia about it.
Doesn't look like Marcia's on,
No,
so,
but there's a glitch with road numbers and what Bill has, what'd you say, Bill, in the ordinance, or how
So
it's?
the ordinance,
Or-
this all started when we added aerospace place. We had to give it a town highway number. So, or attachment A has highway numbers, town highway numbers listed in it. So I went to Marcia because my list wasn't actually complete. And I went to ask her, she had a complete list. I looked at the two lists of the same road names, and every highway number was different. There was not one that was the same from one list to the other. Attachment A
Boom.
Going to highway
follows
committee, you know
town
that.
highway numbers in the road book. The listers list, which is what the grand list is built off of, uses a completely different set of numbers. So we have town highway numbers in town.
Well, wait, the town highway numbers is what we get paid state aid on, right?
The length of them.
The length, not
But
the.
we
the-
still
the-
identify them by town
Correct.
highway numbers to the state,
Correct.
not lister numbers.
Yeah.
Well-
so what we have to, because I maybe did a little bit of research from
Okay.
somebody I maybe have some contact with.
Yeah.
So from my understanding is the town highway numbers are issued by the state.
Okay.
So that may be something that we have to look into because it has to do with like
I have no idea.
it's numeric after what town or what road was added first, and then they keep adding the road numbers.
Oh, well, so Marcia's process said they use when there's an opening for another road that needs a number, they go back and find the lowest unassigned number, and that's what they give it, and they go on from there.
Because there was maybe something to do with class 2 and class 3 roads too, with the numbering, and I think there's
So
there's
if-
something to it.
If we throw up Dyer Road, that number then becomes available, and that could be confusing, so
Yeah, so there's
I'd rather have the state system.
there's some sort of process to it,
Okay.
and I guess
Which is going
we
to,
need to figure out that process.
Does highway committee want to take that?
well, I think we're gonna get stuck with it, but it's, and I don't know if we're gonna have an answer because the grand list numbers all use that number. And when we have to go tell the head lister that she's gonna have to change all those numbers to the state system, I'm pretty sure you're gonna be able to see the smoke from my house.
Why do we have to?
Well, I think that if the state has those numbers and they're all listed, they all should be in accordance with each other.
I don't know if that.
But I don't know.
You see, I don't know if that's how the system. The lister numbers might be different than the town highway numbers.
And we don't know how the lister numbers got
they're-
established.
Yeah, so there's some sort of method that we got to dig into as to how this all.
Well, it sounds like the highway committee is the perfect venue. to
The
look
highway
into
book
this.
has had some college interns, I do believe that.
And
have
law
been-
school
law
people,
school and
yeah.
things have been in that.
And so how the system, I guess we got to find out how the state system works. And then how the lister system arrived at their numbers
Okay,
and see if one takes precedence over the other,
or if we need to.
or if we need to. This is
confirm
kind of
them,
the
we may not-
911 thing. Now it's on us.
Yes, I
Yeah.
Feel
Okay.
it coming.
Yeah, so there's some research to be had with that.
Okay.
All right. Okay. We got another job.
Yes, you do.
Lots to
Thank you.
dig
You
in.
guys see, you do such a good job on things and we just keep tossing them to you. Okay, next is Chris Clark, Town Fire Chief.
He's asleep. We put him asleep.
No.
Good evening.
There he is. Hi, Chris.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
How's your nap, Chris?
Long.
Hey, what you got for us?
Not too much. Our September month is over. Obviously, we had 21 calls in September. We're up to 148 for the year. We had a couple guys go to the town school the other day for fire prevention and teach the young kids. They brought a couple trucks so the kids could look through them, and that went well. And October 22nd, we are sending a truck to the Wonder Feet Museum. The city's closing off a couple of streets for trick or treat. So they asked us to participate. So we're sending one of our trucks down there on the 22nd for a couple hours to hand out candy.
Cool.
It's a tough detail, but I'm glad you're willing to take it on. So.
Yep. But
Is that
other-
the touch a truck? I
It
saw
is.
something about it. Yeah, okay.
Touch a truck.
Touch a truck.
Touch a truck, trick
Yeah.
or
They get
treat,
all that stuff.
everything.
Yeah, cool.
So
Very cool.
Mary, the VLTC requires board approval for equipment to go out of town.
Okay, so it sounds like we need a motion. Thanks. Appreciate that, JP. Is there a motion?
So move.
Motion's made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to allow our truck to participate at the Wonder Feet event in downtown Rutland. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay. Any questions of our fire chief? Okay. Thanks very much, Chris, and thank your
Thank you.
firefighters too. Busy month.
yeah, will do. Thanks.
Okay. Kari Clark, town clerk and treasurer.
Good evening.
Hi, Kari.
Let's see, just a few short things. Nothing too major at all. Just a couple of things that have happened in the last couple of weeks. I did have a couple of interviews for the unofficial job posting that I have out there for the third person in my office. Do have a potential lead that I'm looking into. Susan and I went to an election training in Killington last week, just for a couple of hours. It was on the machine that's allows anyone to vote, the accessible voting machine. So I'm looking into getting them to service it because it's not working correctly on our part, but it is a pretty useful tool for anyone to use. I worked on the budget sheets. They are updated. The general one is not complete yet. I like to have a couple pairs of eyes on that. So the rest of them, I know that police received theirs, and as the committees move on, I'm certain that those are all ready to go. Yes, yours are ready.
Okay.
I heard from the COT system that a potential finish date, they haven't come here and to get started or anything, but they did reach out to me, and we're looking at like Thanksgiving to be up and running if all runs smoothly on their part. I was pretty surprised on how fast that would be. And then the last thing is I continue to meet with Teresa Mealy, who is our HR consultant that we have on board right now. And she's enlightened me on a few things, and I'm really excited to move forward with everything that she has to offer and the knowledge that she's allowing me to gain through this. So I like the direction that we're going in. So that's basically all I have, unless you have any questions for
I
me.
think you're going to be joining us for the public safety building discussion on, is it the 16th? 15th?
16th on
16th,
Monday.
okay.
I will be here.
Good, because need to look at the financing piece as well. So.
Absolutely.
Good, thank you.
On my calendar, and I'll be here.
Great. Questions of our town clerk or treasurer? No, thank you very much.
Oh, you know what? And also, when you move into budgets, I did receive updated, and I have a copy for all the department heads. If I can put it in their mailbox if you wish. When you're looking at your insurance for the people that work for you, that significantly increased.
Is that Is that
is
what we will use to build next year's budget?
absolutely
Okay.
for those that accept the health insurance through Blue Cross Blue Shield here.
Okay.
The jump is pretty significant. And that's the only one I've received so far. As I get updated, I will let everyone know, but
yes, please.
Yeah.
We're usually waiting toward the end on some of that stuff. I'm glad this one is in early.
Yeah, this one came early.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much, Kari.
you.
Appreciate it. Hope you find someone soon. Yeah. Mike Delehanty is our first constable. He's not on. Okay. Ed Dumas, town police chief.
Good evening. Good evening.
Hi, chief.
So last week period, we had 88 calls for service and 22 car stops. Anything on those? Damn mice.
So who did the car stops?
That'd probably be mostly our constables.
Ah, okay.
I think Officer Placas did he did also.
Okay. Any questions on service calls? The police department. Right.
We haven't heard from Motorola yet on the radio. Ted's gonna call him tomorrow to see if we can get the estimate. We're still estimate gave at the police committee is roughly between 35 and 5,000, 3,500 and 5,000.
Okay.
That's, I mean, I don't have anything else other than what we went through on.
Yeah, well, we did have a police committee meeting. We did crunch some numbers to get an idea of the cost of providing service to the south end of town. The minutes are in front of you, and that will inform our discussion a little bit later, I think. And we have some charts on that too. Just some things to be aware of if we add new officers and if we need to do an adequate job on the south end without stripping service away from the north end of town. So we're looking at adding 1.5 police officers, and that would require also equipping them with everything they need, and also everything from training to a possible sign-on bonus. So there's a lot of moving pieces in this. Matt and I spent just about 2 hours with chief and deputy on Friday. So it actually was good because it also helped us get ready for the next coming budget year. So that's the beginning there. I don't think we had anything coming out of this meeting to be voted on tonight, but we do have we'll have an executive session later this evening to discuss negotiations on a pending litigation potential situation. So yeah.
Have you thought as a committee to propose the hiring of an additional officer in the next fiscal year, or is that still?
No, that was very much part of our discussion.
At
Yeah.
least one,
Yeah.
because I know we've kind of kicked this around about
Yes.
hiring maybe a couple of part-time people
Yeah.
or a full-time people or 1.5 people. So,
Yeah.
we're still.
We are still discussing it actively. We'll get more into that when we do the actual budget figures, but much of this was to get ready for our negotiation session. So.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, questions of our chief of police?
That's all I have.
Matt, anything else?
Nope.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much. All right, John Paul Faignant, town health officer, public safety building clerk, and second constable. Which hat would you like to put on?
Why don't we start with the clerk of the works?
Excellent.
That's the hottest topic.
Yeah.
So I sent you a contract for geotechnical services. We were aware from history that there was C&D fill. The information we had is it was primarily along the east elevation, which is the elevation that faces Route 7. And so we were prepared to, large part of the budget was in excavating that fill, which we knew was unacceptable because it had blacktop and things in it. And we're pleasantly surprised when we went to dig the 20,000 gallon, the space for the 20,000 gallon holding tank for the water. It only went down 4 or 5 feet. And we're like, it looked like we were going to save money until they moved to the north end of the lot. And the earth just fell right off. They had, when they built that station, you know where Jimmy Levin's piece of property is? He has the wine.
Yeah.
It's immediately to the east of us.
Oh, yes.
They literally had to dig our lot down to that level to get the compromised material out.
Wow.
But they've done it, and they're lining it and they're filling it with material. There will be a significant change order because of the material we have to bring in to fill that hole. What we took out wasn't even suitable to put on the furthest north of the lot to maybe fill in that void because it had this blacktop in it, which the state does not allow anymore for fill, although they did at the time. So we think we're past that, and we may have an offset because there was a retaining wall originally designed for that east elevation. But now that it's got all that fill we could save, and they did a good job of saving the fill they could save to use. And if they compact it down, we may not have to do the retaining wall. So the services that I have the contract for, we have been paying for those services all along. We've just been paying them under our architect's umbrella. And I thought that we should break this out in the interest of transparency. I wanted to have these costs broken out from our architect's fees, just in case there's an issue down the road. We ought to know what we've incurred for all of this, separate from our architect's bill.
Okay.
So that's the reason why otherwise it would just be billed through Mr. Clark's firm.
Okay.
Like it was last time for the original test holes
I
we've
remember
done
the
for suitability.
testing,
Yeah,
yeah.
they just billed through the architect.
Okay.
And when this happened, I asked if we could break this service out so that we could see it separately, and Ed didn't have a problem with that, and the contractor doesn't either.
Okay. So you answered my 2 questions too. So
Yeah.
thank you for that.
Yeah.
One was, why wasn't this part of the general contractor's contract?
It was. There was an allocation on general conditions, but this exceeds the amount that was allocated for it because we have to pay for the new fill to come back in. It has to be compacted, and I understand it can't be compacted in layers more than 24 inches at a time. Yeah, so they got like 40 feet to come up at that rate, but they're pretty much on. I mean, I stopped there today, the liner's in and they're going to it.
This is the reserve that we're now tapping
Maybe and
into.
maybe not, like I said, I don't remember what was, there was an amount they figured for putting the retaining wall up, and I don't know that figure off the top of my head, but this could be fairly close to breaking even, or we might be over a little, but I just wanted to point out that the firm that's doing this work, and I can't remember, they're out of New Hampshire.
M&W Soils Engineering out of Charlestown.
Yeah, I have it on really good authority that they are like top of the line firm, and that the particular person there, Mr. Rhodes, is a very practical individual, and he comes up with very practical solutions to sometimes daunting situations. So I think we're in pretty good hands that we chose them from the beginning, that they'd really work well with the contractor and the owners to get through some of this stuff. So I'm glad that they're on board with us.
They've been helpful.
Yeah.
Are we at the point of approving a change order yet, or?
No, we don't. So what we're working through now is how are we going to quantify this change in circumstances?
Mhm.
And so Ed is working through that with Fabian's right now to figure out what would be a fair equation to come up with the extra cost.
So we don't do anything with this tonight, or do we?
With what?
This is separate, right?
This is separate. This is for the geotechnical services that we need going forward to certify that we're doing what we need to do after we discovered this void.
Okay,
So
so 12 more years for me and I'll get it. Just be patient.
you're good.
Okay, so we have a proposal from M&W Soils Engineering. It is a quote for construction inspections at the new fire station. It doesn't have a bottom line, but it does have a list of expenses for a special inspector, geotechnical engineer, and so on. Do we have any ballpark about how much this might be?
it's on an as-needed basis. I mean, we probably wouldn't be using them again had we not run into this problem. So as soon as we do this problem, they're in my rearview mirror, hopefully for the rest of the project.
Do they monitor, JP, like when they pour the concrete? They monitor that too, right?
Yeah.
That's all part of it. So,
They test concrete.
yeah, was that?
They work for our school district. I was just informed of that today.
They're like the #1 company that does this around here, from what I've.
There's not a whole lot of them out there.
That specialize in what they're doing. So what I'm getting at was there was a certain portion in that original figure for testing the concrete anyway, right?
Correct.
The only additional stuff is just managing this unexpected fill that and the compaction and making sure it's suitable for what they're, okay.
Right.
So part of the services they're going to provide would have been provided anyway.
That's right. It's just that they won't be paid through the architects
architect.
anymore. They'll be paid directly from us. That's right.
All right.
Is there a motion?
I'll move to accept the proposal and I'm not sure it's by the hour and by the thing, but their breakdown, their schedule of fees. That's what I
So
wanted to
that's
say.
in the letter of September 29th from M&W Soils Engineering. Motion's made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion?
I don't have that letter in front of me, JP, but I found the schedule a little bit confusing myself. Did you understand it as to how they're charging for each visit?
No, but I know Ed does, and if you want, I can get an explanation for you for next time.
I was reading over it in the email. It seemed, I can't remember it offhand, but it seemed to make sense.
Yeah.
They charge different if they're picking up concrete cores.
Yeah. And then
if they're coming down for a regular site visit.
And then they share costs, if I understood, with like if they're coming to do somebody else's and they'll say a mileage charge, they'll break it up between customers rather than charge it. So there's some things in there that I thought were a pretty decent way of doing business.
I know I would charge shop to shop.
Yeah.
I do charge shop to shop. And they're charging job to shop. So
yeah.
Yeah. They got a good reputation.
Yeah. Does that make any sense to you, Matt?
I guess so they're charging travel time and mileage and a visit fee.
Right.
And then there was something about his example, I think that I didn't quite follow, but if you're all comfortable with it, then I'm good with it.
They're here a lot, Matt, and so they are going to prorate with others.
Yeah. So if there were a couple of jobs in the area and the travel time was whatever, because they're coming from New Hampshire, they can split the travel time between two different clients rather than each client pay the same travel time, which some companies might do it that way. But
all right, so are we ready to vote on the motion, which is to approve the payment schedule for M&W Soils Engineering? If so, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, so we're going to take a 5-minute break if you can, hold tight.
Sure.
We'll be back.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. Reconvene. Sorry, JP.
No worries.
Next hat.
So, Ed kind of covered the speed thing in town. It's, there's just not enough officers to be doing traffic. It's like shoveling sand against the tide, but, young lady from North Carolina doing 65 down the post road. I mean, we're getting really aberrant speeds on 4 major roads in town. And so I'm hopefully there when they come through.
Thank you.
And as health officer, I guess I wanted to discuss the 800-pound elephant that's in the room about Cortina Inn that nobody's talking about, and that is the increased educational costs. The school board cannot come forward on this issue. They are bound by all kinds of confidentiality rules. But if we take the numbers provided by Cortina, 23 to 24 students, okay, at 18 grand a student, and next year Rutland High is going to be 19, that's $450,000 that the town budget is going to take a hit on. I really think the board has got to address that when you're talking to Cortina, because the school can't. They've got all kinds of confidentiality rules that prevent them from speaking out and saying, hey, folks, we're underwater here by $500,000 and we got to do something for our budget and for the upcoming budget. They can't do it.
No.
Well, we did reach out in a couple of ways. And you're right, they didn't get back to us, and I understand they can't really.
So through the Act 250, if this goes to an Act 250 process, can, under the, and I have it right on the tip of my tongue, and then it goes, but compensation or whatever for
impact
fees,
municipalities,
impact fees. There's the word. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Can the school request impact fees?
Yes. And the town can request them on
Well,
behalf of the school because it's affecting the grand list. So it's a ripple effect, as I understand.
Okay. So either we have to do it through direct negotiations with the owners, or we have to hope the Act 250 process is going to kick in. So those are our two alternatives.
I mentioned it, Joe, because I got an extensive background in school law.
Yeah, I know you do,
and I
yeah.
know they can't talk about it, and I know you folks haven't mentioned it. So I just wanted to bring it up, put it on the table.
We have.
So air
We
it
have.
out.
We've talked about it at length.
Okay.
And our number was about 150,000 more than yours.
Yeah, because if you
We just don't know
identify
how to
low
approach
income
it.
children, then you're doing a label.
Yeah.
And they don't allow it.
Right. So, and I mentioned this when we had the meeting with the new owner about the impact fees that the school could be asking for. I'm not sure they got it, but I guess we're going to have to just, part of our discussion later on this evening is going to have to be how do we approach this? Because I think it's a tremendous amount of money to the town that we shouldn't have to stand for.
I mean, I think the taxpayers are going to take a really big hit next year unless we start to address it early.
Yep.
But I'm just putting it on the table. That's really all I had.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, but that's.
Any other questions for our town health officer, public safety building clerk, or second constable?
How's their schedule, JP, up there? Are they?
This set us back about 4 or 5 days.
Okay. Nothing.
We can make that up if the weather cooperates.
That's a big if.
So were we set back because of the lack of dumpsters at the beginning?
There was a delay in getting dumpsters. All of a sudden, there was a scarcity. We got through that probably in 2 days.
Okay.
They made up that time, and then we ran into the fill issue. But I mean, they're really working conscientiously. They understand that they promised us a year from the start to be able to occupy.
The big thing is the initial concrete in the ground before cold weather.
Right.
And
right.
Certain, I don't know if it's 21 days or a certain cure time prior to cold weather setting in.
The western
trench is all done.
Is perfect.
All
Yeah,
done.
that was
that
was a charm.
When the gate opens, I can look down through.
Yeah,
and see
there
what
it
they're
is.
doing. All right.
And so we'll see you Monday.
Monday.
Okay,
All right.
great. Looking
Thank you.
forward to it. Thank you.
Thanks, JP.
And have other select board members sent questions to you? Okay, so please, to give JP time to do some research, if you have them, if you get the questions to him.
And I'll bring the plans. I have in
Yes,
case you have
please.
any detailed questions, we can dive right into it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, JP.
Barbara Noise pulling and, okay. Okay. All right. That's on my
That thought,
list of
numerous.
things to deal with. Not,
Haven't you, Mary?
what?
He said Barbara was here and she left. I said, I've had that thought numerous times.
You're staying.
Yes.
All right, Bill Sweet, Town Administrative Assistant to the Select Board.
All
right. Good evening.
Hi, Bill.
Hi. All right. So a few things to cover. First, select board packet was in a little different layout than previously.
Noticed.
For those of you that get it online and want to read online, it was done that way. So there's bookmarks and it's searchable and you can a little more interact with the one I send you electronically. Do you like this? Do you want to go back to the way it was? Do you need fine?
I can find my way through it,
Okay.
Billy, without
Just-
numbers
just
and without
trying to make a layout that kind of flowed well.
Yep.
We are in the midst of our insurance renewal with VLCT. I have heard back from almost every department on their information. Got a couple things to wrap up. I've got to have it to them this week, so hopefully she could be able to get that done without any issues. But that's just our annual insurance review, so we just work with everybody.
We need that for our budget.
Yeah, that's part of it. Yeah, we get that. So we'll get our premium from them. Yeah. And let's see. We were talking last meeting about the scheduling for the energy audits. There is a hierarchy by energy burden. We are in the middle tier, so they're expecting to start with the high tier towns this week, and it could be in a couple weeks that we'll have our building done. So. But it's still the emails that come out are don't call us, we'll call you. So, but it is we are in the middle tier, so we're in pretty good shape. So they have 24 towns in the county out of 27 that participated, so there's quite a list to go through, but it's a good project. We are moving forward. We had a visit from the engineers for downstairs. Skylar brought a electrical and a plumbing engineer, and we went through and around downstairs, and they took many notes. So they're going to be able to come back to us with some things that
Energy efficiency grants available for downstairs?
well that's we talked about what we want to do. We want to use heat pumps, and they've got a lot of information to go through, and then we'll get some recommendations based upon their analysis of what they've done. But we talked about heating and windows, and the kitchen became a big topic pretty quickly, depending on what we put in there, because it could be considered commercial. We have to put in venting and things like that if we want to use it that way. They're going to talk about variances there, but that's a great topic for the building committee to discuss when we get those recommendations back from them. But no timeline on that quite yet, so don't worry. Not asking for a meeting yet. We'll get there. In your packet, you have a annual report from the Otter Creek Communications Union District.
Yes.
I believe she emailed you all this same thing, but implored me to put it on the agenda and put it there to make sure you guys all saw it. Something they have to do, and she also wanted me to remind that we do not have a representative from the town to this board.
We appoint you to that.
Well, I
thought we
was it, and the meeting schedule they have is not conducive for what I can do. But most of the towns join this because they need to establish broadband in their towns. They're pulling funding to get it done. We're kind of in the boat of we don't have to, because we have a really good broadband network in town, and a lot of these towns are using ARPA funds to fund it, and we've already used all of ours. So we don't really fit in the category they're trying to gain, but it is a really good group.
Still, we're part of the district, so we
Yes.
should have a rep to the district.
It is a really good group, and they're doing great things to help roll out broadband. We are very fortunate in that we have virtually broadband in every corner of the town. So
Audience volunteers.
Yeah.
Tanner.
I don't know if you want me to do that.
Do we have anyone in town who's really kind of into the issues, checked in with you about it?
No.
Yeah. I mean, maybe
The town doesn't have a lot of issues,
Well, I know,
we're
that's the
we're
thing.
one of the probably
we are very fortunate
fortunate towns, so.
All right, I don't know what to do. What do we do about a representative? I do think we should be sending one because we are in the district.
So I think that we
should have-
posted on our website that we're looking for a website to be to represent Rutland Town and, or is it already there?
It's already there. So we had that list of like open appointments.
Yeah.
And it's part of that list that's been out there. I can
Pull
refresh
it
it a
out,
little
put it
bit.
in a box and.
I can refresh it a
and
little bit,
if-
see if
and
we
if
can
we
get
don't
some.
get any response, we should put something in the circle next time around.
Sure. Yeah, that's fine. We
Yeah.
can do that too.
Who's their project manager? They're paying $240 an hour. You said.
Yeah, I looked at that list at the end.
Yeah.
Sounds like some pretty healthy
Well,
salaries.
it may not be one person. It may
I
be
hope-
management spread over.
They'll maybe
Hope that's not
post
one
that on
person.
Facebook again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Somebody
I will.
technically
Yeah.
find
We
it, see it.
kind of. Yeah. I'll bring it back around.
Could you let her know, please, that we did receive the report?
$2,400 a
And
week.
we
Oh, no, I
are
did- I did-
working
I
on
have that
finding a
I was
representative.
happy that I responded to her. So yes.
Tell her it was never
Yep.
mind.
Okay. You have the agenda for the meeting on Monday.
Yep.
Do you need me to be here for that?
Project details and funding sources. Well, we do want to make sure we have a good record, so we want
That
to,
won't be a problem.
Okay.
The
Carrie knows how to set it up.
behind the
and-
scenes work will be taken care of.
Okay.
Yes.
What's your thought, folks? Do we want Bill or no?
If we
Well,
can,
it didn't sound very polite.
if we can do it without him and he can go home to his family for an evening, that'd be all right.
Okay.
They'd appreciate that. And then the last thing in your packet is the list of town-owned land. I did just get an email just before the meeting from Kevin about the 30 acres. I haven't even read it yet,
Yeah.
but we still got to
Yeah.
do that. But Joe, you were talking about Northwood Park. It is in here.
Okay.
The parcel is in here. If the page is on, I think it's third page.
If I dig through here, I'll find what my answers maybe to my question.
Well, except for
doesn't
the
show-
breakdown of acreage.
Yeah, it doesn't give the detail, but I think it's the fourth page at the top, and there's a yellow line that kind of winds its way through the middle of the park, and that's the border.
Yeah. So I asked Bill to bring this up again. I think we should look at it periodically anyway, but one thought occurred to me was if we had any of those leftover pieces of property, and it doesn't look like we have many, but we have a few, that I got talking with the folks from Habitat from Humanity. They accept donations of land and they build tiny houses on them. So, and then they're able to sell it. Let's see, they sell the building and they retain the land. I think that's how the land trust does. To people, first-time homeowners, and it gives us, it gives two things. One is a family, a place to live, and it also would then put some revenue generating things on our grand list. So I thought we should take a look and see if there was anything that was superfluous that we might.
Extra.
I'm not seeing anything
Yeah.
for that use at least.
Yeah, I think the west end, the area at the end of Park Street, I think that
Probably
was
all
ours.
flood-
That
that's
was
probably
probably
all
mostly
floodplain.
floodplain. Yeah.
Probably all floodplains.
Somebody's probably putting corn in there, or is that where the solar panels are up from there?
No.
Curious to who's farming that and how.
Billings.
Is it still the Billings
I
boys?
assume Billings are probably farming it, but
Yeah.
do we have any agreement with them?
No. Obviously, I'm not the person to raise that issue.
Well, I
so-
was just, not that I really give a crap, honestly, but just curious.
I know, and it occurred to me we
Actually,
should
yeah,
raise
because those
that.
look like fields from that area.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's
pretty
sure that's a field down there.
Yeah, and they've probably been using it for eternity.
However, yeah.
And my recollection on the West Rutland lots is they're way up and they're landlocked. Or
Yeah, it's
pretty
all-
close to
it's
it,
all
so.
timberland.
And I think that we did do the timber cutting off from those West
We
Rutland
did,
lots.
yeah.
And we
We're in current use with those two, I think.
and I don't know who owns land around those. would it be in our interest to see if somebody of the landowners that are adjacent to us want it? I mean, I don't know. I've often wondered about that, and I don't, and there's how we ended up with them goes back years through school lots and glebe lots and this
Our
and
history
that.
lesson we were having earlier. I believe those lots came from, they were church property
Oh,
and they
yes.
were used to grow trees to then cut down to build houses and stuff like that.
Was it the houses or the British Navy? Some of the old
how far
ones
back
are
it
way
goes.
back.
It
Yeah.
goes back a long way.
I mean,
Well,
those are
any
things.
discussion here, we should have Fred Nicholson in on because he marked some of these.
He did the
trees.
forestry work
Yeah,
on
so
them, and
he
we
would
had
know
them.
the
We had
land
them
better.
logged, and
Yeah.
and whether or not. I mean, it's cost us a little in taxes, I guess, but
we had the management plan done on it too.
yeah, we have a
Yeah, we
forest
do.
management plan
Yeah.
done. So yeah, I don't know. It's
Okay, well, there's my thought, and there are the lands, so
I have
we should pull this up periodically.
when
to
we
see-
talk about the land,
Yeah,
the 29 acres that we sold,
yes.
is that
Well, it is pending and
Oh,
our
yeah.
lawyer is working with Mark Foley's lawyer and, addressing some of the
that
legal
better be
issues.
discussed in executive
It might
session?
be a
I
good
just got an
thing.
email about it. I haven't heard anything from Kevin for a couple weeks. I just
Yeah.
got an email about it
This is,
earlier tonight.
since it's a land transaction, we may want to do executive session on it.
I won't ask any questions
Okay.
until later.
Is
And it's-
Windcrest Road on this list?
That was the list I had.
There was that little
But there is
strip.
a little
that we
strip of
own.
land.
That
Yeah.
little sliver on Windcrest Road.
Yeah.
I didn't see it in here.
Yeah, we missed that.
Was-
That used to be part of a well lot or some.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and we went
so
down
there
and
were
looked
the
at it.
two,
Yeah,
it was a strip of land that went to a
Alderman's
well.
owns part of it.
They
Alderman's
own
and the
everything
neighbors.
around it.
What's that?
They bought the house. They bought the subsequent houses, so they own all the
Yep.
way around it.
And we still own the little parcel in the middle. Well, I think that they should probably,
If you want.
yeah, that would be a good one that they could own that little parcel too.
Yeah.
We might as well collect the taxes
Yeah,
on
they might
about
as well start paying
a
some
quarter
taxes.
quarter acre.
Hey, but what about my idea of a tiny house?
It'd fit perfect right there.
Huh?
There's a well in the backyard.
Probably would fit.
Yeah, with a Buick and a Chevy parked on each side.
Yeah.
Well, those two houses there's a house on either side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've got something up around the back of it, but
Yeah,
it's
that's true.
all in there.
Yeah.
It's all
It's a weird
Alderman's
lot.
now.
It goes off to an angle. But
Yeah, it's kind of a weird one.
Yeah, well, that's
It's-
something I think we should
okay.
look in getting rid of.
So there's your homework in a general kind of way. Just think about what we can do with these.
And the last thing I will, was it, do you want me to see if I can get Tyler to come to the meeting to talk about the addressing
Yes, I think,
issue? Okay.
Yes.
So the other part of this is, and I apologize, I didn't put the copies ordinances in here, but the actual, the ordinance actually has the shalls in there about what we have to do.
Okay.
So I'll put that in there too. We have the road name and road location ordinance, and there's a whole section on it. But it says that roads shall be numbered every 5.28 feet for the addressing. We shall assign each structure or location based upon the distance. And there's actually a very specific way addresses are supposed to be displayed. So there was a discussion about displaying addresses, and I took time and I drove both these neighborhoods, and they are not. We don't really drive the compliance on that part of it, on the addressing part of it, but the intent of the ordinance and how it's supposed to be is globally not. We don't have a very good compliance with that.
so our ordinance might go a little bit further than what the 911.
So the 911 system tells us here's what they should be. The ordinance says, go ahead and do it. So we can look at the ordinance and but and I did look at that, and it does say it actually says shall. So that's, so the 911 board doesn't say you must change these addresses. They're like, here are some issues, here are the fixes, and the ordinance gives us the
Leverage
permission
to
to
do
go
it.
do it. So yeah.
And I think that maybe some of the landowners aren't aware of that.
It's very possible.
Maybe
I
some
mean,
of the board members aren't aware of what the ordinance actually.
it's very possible. So
We don't read
we do want to look at we have that's on our list too, is to look at the ordinances, and that's certainly one of them that's up. All of them, all the ones we haven't done yet are ones that we want to look at, and we can look at the language but obviously there was a reason that was done, and I think it goes back to 97 the addressing. So it's that when 911 started. So
I wonder if, just for background, when you invite Tyler to our meeting to come in and help us with this, if send him a copy of that ordinance so he knows what we're working from. So he can, that might help him prepare a solution to this that doesn't disrupt the whole neighborhood.
Absolutely.
Because I think that, we're, like I said 100 times, we've got to try to stay kind of consistent. Otherwise you get into a lot of hot water, but
no, I don't disagree.
Okay.
That was everything I had.
Okay. Questions of Bill.
What was,
Oh.
you said something about road.
Oh, those are the highway numbers. So there's the one I think in your right hand that says that's a complete list. That is all the town roads. Every road has a number assigned to it. And then there's other lists there that are incomplete, or the one in your left hand, Matt, is the road book one. So none of those town highway numbers line up with any of the ones the listers have.
This is the lister one.
That's the road book one. And that's just the first page of it.
So
the road book is our sort of,
it's our encyclopedia of the origin of the roads in town. So,
and it's not
it's the town
no,
record
it's not
other
complete,
than the
and
lister
it's been,
record. Basically,
I'm sorry.
So it's like it is the official town record, except that the listers aren't using it.
It's the record of how we got all of our roads in town and the town highway numbers assigned to them, and that was used in the ordinance as the attachment. That list from the road book, but the road book list isn't complete. And when I asked Marcia about the highway number, that's what she told me. She's like, I said, my list isn't complete, but my list doesn't match yours. And she's like, this is the list I have. And this is how we assign a new number. When we have a new road, we look at the lowest number that's not assigned and we add that to it.
So this list comes from where?
From the lister's office.
Okay. For what purpose do the listers use road numbers?
When the grand list.
Identify the property.
Yeah.
So if your property is on North Grove Street, that would be part of your parcel number.
It's the first part of the parcel ID.
Right. So where you live, if you look at your parcel number, it will match something in there will match the number for your road. I think it is the first number they use.
I am back to, I don't think we have to reconcile the two lists. I
Maybe
really
we don't.
I don't think we do.
Maybe we don't.
Because tax map parcel numbers are pretty standard now for closings and for, homestead decks and all of that stuff.
And we've got to find out how, and this was to Kurt's point, if the state helps, because if we're getting state aid on these roads, if they have something to do with that numbering system, then we can't deviate from their system. And I can tell you right now, the lister's office isn't changing what they've got to match the state's numbering system. And if they don't have anything to do with each other and don't cause hate and discontent, we may just walk away from this.
So we do have the ordinance. There's two ordinances that this affects. One is the one that has as attachment A for all the town highways locations. The other is the one that has our speed limits, because they are all identified by town highway number. So you need a decoder ring to figure out which part of what road you're looking at. But it lays out all of the distances and speeds by town highway and not by road name. So part of our,
but that's not the lister's highway number. That's our own.
Right. It uses a different list. So the decision, we can go with it. But we would, and I'm fine either way. The lister's list is complete. The road book list is not.
Right.
So it may be more advantageous to use the lister's list for the things that we want to maybe identify everything in, but we'll leave it to the highway committee to have that discussion.
I wouldn't cross back and forth. The road book is not complete because we have periodically put about 2,000 or 2,500 in the budget, hired somebody to come in, often a paralegal. I think we've done law students, we've done recent law graduates to come in and just tackle take a road, research it in the land records, put it in the road book. So it's a work in progress.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Is this something that originated out of the ancient roads issue?
I think
Creation of a
it
road
was
book.
ongoing before the ancient roads thing. And we have, by the way, because the town took no action on ancient roads, we have none of that. Remember the statute that said you've got to act towns or you're going to lose any rights under ancient roads. We deliberately did not take any action. So
I think, we're gonna have to go to the state and ask them about the numbering system they use.
if you
And
want
find out
to,
if
I
that-
frankly don't, I wouldn't rock the boat.
Well, no,
I think we just need to understand how the town highway numbering thing comes about.
right.
Do they tell us or do we tell them?
Yeah, because it's, as we add towns
Inquire.
or as we add roads in the town, we got to figure out.
I got a guy. I know a guy.
Inquire.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like a great job.
Pick
for the
brains.
What's that? Oh, yeah, no, we'll do it. It's just, I just,
Okay, anything else for Bill?
I will not be here the first half of Monday, probably. I have
Okay.
appointments, I won't be here, but everything else is going along.
All right.
Good.
So under committee reports, we've done highway committee. Thank you very much. We've done police committee and the project list is up there. One of these years, we probably should update it. And in fact, that would be a good thing to think about as we're moving into budgeting to see if there's anything up there. We need to
one item
budget
that
for.
was, I don't even know if it was in the minutes for highway.
Yep.
Was a discussion on matching funds for the north end sidewalk. JP sidewalk.
That's something that needs to get budgeted.
Oh,
So we're gonna
okay.
have to discuss, I mean,
Do we need it now?
I
Or
think
does
we're
this
go-
go in our budget?
I think it's
discussion?
going to have to be discussed in the budget discussion for when that project kicks off. I mean, we've got a $625,000 grant.
Yeah.
Our portion of that is 20%. So we've got to come up with like 125,000.
Okay, so JP, how much are you going to kick in for your sidewalk?
I got some change.
Okay, okay, good.
So, I mean, that is just
But
something
we
out
have,
there.
What, 18 months to use the grant?
I haven't even got that timeline yet.
We haven't
Okay.
got it. So we got some time.
We got some
People
time.
that are in charge of helping the towns have been helping the towns that
Got wiped out.
right now.
Yeah, okay.
We're all just kind of.
So
Okay.
I just, Kurt and I talked and Bill the other day that we just want to be,
Yes.
I think we
please.
want to be ahead of this and figure out where it's coming. I have a couple of ideas, but we can discuss those.
Some of it we can add up some of our carryover, maybe put a little carryover towards it.
Yeah, but don't
That's
don't
true.
hesitate to make sure it's in the budget. too,
Yeah,
so-
so that's traditionally where some of those oddball projects have gotten
Yeah.
funded is the carryover.
But we've also had it in the budget. I know some of the, so
we
we
can-
can do.
And that's
yeah.
a shared use path, which generated more cost to build, but it also generated more money through the grant process.
Yeah.
So, and it made us, that's how we got to grant. So,
It's a foot wider. 5-foot sidewalk, 6-foot shared use path.
Yep. But the designation and all of that, and that's fine. I think it's going to be a good project.
think it
I
will be.
don't believe our highway crew is going to want to tackle that. Yeah, and hopefully when
Okay.
that goes out to bid, we can get it for the allocated amount. Cause we've been finding that some things are really scary.
So hold on the executive session for just a minute. Pending issues that I've kind of listed here, the short-term rental ordinance. I still need to do the preliminary page things, and my apologies, I just
Yeah.
haven't gotten to it.
We've had plenty to go over.
I think we have. E911, we've got a meeting scheduled on that.
Yeah.
We just did the contract with M&W Soils. We do need, let's see, and that's a bit of a personnel matter in executive session. So we have another personnel matter we should deal with, a couple actually. And the communications district we just did, and we've got Dyer Road on track to, as we inelegantly say, throw it up.
Yeah.
So,
Could we reword that?
I know, we
kinda
really should. I
nauseating.
know, really. It is.
That's the.
I always liked it.
It's always been throw up
Yeah.
the road.
Yeah.
That's always been the term for it.
Yeah. So,
I like it.
any other
You
thing
would.
before we go into executive session, because we will need a couple of personnel matters and we will need obviously negotiations to
I got
So-
one thing under new business.
okay, what you got?
Larry Delehanty called me today, and Bill Bauer is going to be retiring the end of November. So he wanted approval from us to list a position. He said he was going to list it up there at the transfer station, list it here.
Okay.
And he had a pay rate that was going to be less than Bill, so budget wise should all be set. So
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Good.
Do you need a motion on that or you
I'm,
got an opening? And
as
we
long
need
as
to
we all
fill it?
get thumbs up, then I can let him know.
Yeah.
You all good with that?
Sure.
Okay. All right. And tell Larry happy birthday.
Will do.
Okay. So, motion for executive session would be in order for contract negotiations, a land use transfer, and
Personnel.
at least two personnel matters.
So move.
Second.
Motion's made and
Alright.
seconded.
We got you covered.
Okay, all in
Pick
favor
one.
of going into executive session, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, good night.
As best we can. Good night, Sharon.
Okay, good
You
night,
want to
Sharon.
stay for the last vote or no?
Okay, we're out of executive
say aye.
session at
Okay, good night.
9:47.
Yeah.
Are there any motions?
Move to adjourn.
No,
wait.
I move that
gotta do
we
that one first.
forward to town council Kevin Brown the agreement, proposed agreement with the folks at Cortina for his review and comment.
Okay,
Second.
motion's made and seconded. Any
that one.
discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries, and that's what we'll do. Any other motions?
Move to adjourn.
Aye. No,
Motions-
second.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all very much.